Today's topic is going to be all about forward shaft lean and compressing the golf ball. Let's get it. Hey everybody, welcome back to Golf Test Dummy, the channel where I use my game to help your game, hopefully. If this is the first time that you've seen any of my content, you're visiting my channel, first of all, thanks for clicking on the video, appreciate it. Hit the subscribe button down below, click the bell notification off to the right, and select all so that you don't miss any content. You'll get a notification every time I post a new video, and you can click on it and stay up to date on everything that's going on this channel. A little bit about this channel before we get started. What I try and do is find different methods, theories, drills, techniques, whatever, to help the average golfers, weekend golfers, to figure out a much simpler, easier, repeatable, less stressful way to go about striking a golf ball. I feel like the pro style swing and the conventional swing, what most people are teaching nowadays, it's very complicated and it requires so much time dedicated to practicing, ingraining it, and then putting it into practice and then maintaining it as well in order to play at a higher level than what you're used to playing. And a lot of us just don't have that kind of time. At the range recently, I really got back to where I was compressing the golf ball with a lot less effort. And it all comes down to having that forward shaft lean at impact and compressing the golf ball by trying to pinch it and almost deloft the club. You really don't have to make a huge effort, but that's what I was working on at the range the day of this footage. This was such a great day. Now, not all of these shots were wonderful. Of course, I'm not a pro golfer and I'm working on making some changes. But instead of trying to think about positions, instead of trying to think about, what I'm doing mechanically, I'm trying to focus on those feels. I'm trying to focus on a feeling of squishing the golf ball into the ground. And the only way that I can do that is to feel as if I've delofted the club. That's the feel I'm going for. Delofting the club with this sweeping motion to sort of razor the club along the ground. If you're using a razor, the blade grabs and goes along your face. It's going this way. It's never going 90 degrees. It's always going at an angle. So it's a shallow angle and it's shaving your face. And that is what you want to do with the golf club. You want that angle just gliding along the bottom with that delofted sense, that sort of dragging the club head through the impact area with the handle of the golf club. People have a hard time describing or putting into words what it is about golf that is so addictive and what it is that really draws you back in. And a lot of times people will talk about, man, you go out to the range or you go out to the golf course when you're first starting out and you can't hit the ball, and then all of a sudden there's this one shot that's just in the middle of the face and it's solid and it takes off and it soars through the air, and then you're hooked. You're a golfer for life at that point. And that's what we spend our entire golfing lives chasing after, is to recreate that contact, that feeling, that tuning fork going off through your bones and resonating in your soul. We're trying to just capture that with every single shot. We want to feel it over and over and over. It's that endorphin rush. It's like the rat in the maze going up and pushing the button to get the cheese. That reward is that feel. And that feel comes from real compression of the golf ball, a solid strike. So what is that? What creates that feeling? It's a strike in the middle of the club face, in the sweet spot, that offers so little resistance in the way of the club passing through a solid object like a golf ball. It feels effortless. It feels like air. It feels like it was meant to be. But it's, in reality, the compression of that golf ball hitting the sweet spot of the golf club and the ball rebounding and exploding off of the club face out toward the target at a high velocity. So then the obvious question after that would be, how do you make that happen? How do you make that happen over and over and over again without bogging your mind down with all these swing thoughts and all these different positions you're trying to hit, and make it happen easily? Make it happen more often than not? That's the big question. The answer seems to be, at least in my mind, the forward shaft lean at impact. In order to compress the golf ball with, let's say, a 7-iron, okay, the grip has to be leading the club head through the shot. It has to be. If the grip is leading and that club head is traveling slightly on a descending angle toward the golf ball, and you catch it in the sweet spot with a slightly descending blow with the club face hooded or delofted a little bit, which is what all the players and coaches and everybody's talking about now, is delofting the club a little bit, meaning you get that forward shaft lean and you're passing the club through the ball with the grip leading the club head, and you compress the golf ball not only against the club face, but also against the turf that it's sitting on. It's almost like a two-way pinch. You're driving a wedge along the ground, which is a plane, and it creates this sort of double compression against the face, compression against the ground, and the ball having those rebounding type properties to it, the squish and then explosion, it just rockets off the club face. And it doesn't take a lot of effort. It doesn't have to involve pro level swing speeds, club head speeds, and all that stuff. You can create it with a relatively average swing speed. So that's what I've been experimenting with lately. That's what I've been trying to get in my swing that I used to have when I was younger, and I have just lost it over the last several years, and I'm trying to get that back. So at the range, I tried to work on that, and I was able to find it. I was able to get back to these solid compressive strikes. And it wasn't because I was getting into all the proper positions by talking to my body parts or trying to give myself these real world position sort of, I don't know, mechanical thoughts. You have to think more in feels. For me, it's about, what do I feel? I don't want to know where all the tour pros are actually at in the real world. I don't need to know where they are position wise. I don't need to know what positions I need to hit. I need to know what they're feeling. I need to know what their intentions are. What do you intend to do with the club face? What do you intend to do with your weight? What do you intend to do with your core and your trunk? What are you intending to do with the flight of the ball? You know, those feels, those intentions. If your intention is to compress the ball and to make sure that you're delofting the club a little bit and that you're really passing it through with a slightly descending blow and a shallow path, I mean, that's the feel. That's the intent that you want. So what feel do you attach to that intent? And for me, the feel almost becomes sort of a dragging of the club. I almost want to feel like I'm dragging the club head through by pulling the club head as if it were attached to a chain, and I've got the end of the chain. I'm wanting to pull the chain through impact to drag the club along behind it. If I get to where I'm flipping and my wrist is just releasing too early, then I eliminate all that forward shaft lean, I eliminate that little bit of delofting of the club, and I'm not going to get nearly the compression because it's going to be more of a glancing blow. Case in point, if you hit a 7-iron flush, there's a lot less loft on a 7-iron than there is on, say, a lob wedge. A lob wedge is not going to feel anywhere near as powerful and strong as a 7-iron because the strike that the golf ball imparts on a sand wedge is a much more glancing blow. It's more of a deflected sort of rebound or compression that kind of travels up the face and gets deflected away, whereas a 7-iron is more of a solid strike, and a 5-iron is even more of a solid strike because there's less loft on it, so it's more of a flush sort of 90-degree contact with the earth. So the feel that you get when you compress the golf ball is that effortless feeling, because it was in the sweet spot, yeah, but it was also because you compressed the golf ball, and you can't compress the golf ball with just a sweeping motion and the shaft completely vertical. The shaft has to have the grip of the club leaning more toward the target with the club lagging behind. And if you want to talk about lag, that's the real lag. Imagine you're in a pool, okay? If you were in a pool and your kid was 5 feet away and you wanted to splash your kid with the most enormous amount of water in the face and just completely ruin their day, and then, you know, of course, after that, you try and drown them, you know, push their head down and stuff and throw them all around the pool and then run away as they tried to get back at you. But anyway, if you tried to splash water by pushing your hand through the top of the pool surface with a flat hand, you would create some wave, you would create a little bit of splash, but the amount of force that you would need to apply to that, the speed that you would need to apply to it with a 90-degree hand along the water, would be much greater than if you took your hand and did it like this. If you do like that, then you're skimming along the surface of the water, you're making the water climb. It's trying to climb this surface right here, and as you continue to drive forward, it's trying to climb this way and you're pushing forward at the same time, and it's almost like it doubles up on itself and you get much more water moving forward. Whereas if it was 90 degrees and you push, the water would be climbing mostly this way and go up more. So that's what you're trying to do, is collect that water along the surface and drive it not only this way but down. You're trying to force it down, which is going to make it climb the face even more. All you need to know is that you should focus your intent to be the handle of the club leading the head of the club anytime you're trying to hit something off of the turf. If you're trying to hit a golf ball off the turf, you always want the handle leading. If you can just focus on that feel, just feel like you're letting the grip lead the club head through. Try that as a feel, because that's how we learn. That's how we learn. That's how we restructure our golf swings. I can't possibly learn a different move in my golf swing by trying to hit a position. I can only operate from feels. And if somebody tells me, I want you to feel like you're hitting this ball really low along the ground, or I want you to imagine there's a coffee table out in front of you, 2 feet in front of the ball, and you're trying to send this golf ball underneath that coffee table out that way. That's a feel. That's an intent. That's an imaginative sort of way to look at it that can, based on that intent and that feel that you want to create, it will create the physical dynamics that are necessary to do just that. And that's what I'm looking for. That, I believe, is really what helps me out in golf instruction. And I think a lot of you out there can agree with it. I think it helps a lot of you out there as well. I've made some progress at the range recently, working on some of these feels and things like that, and I've really gotten back to where I'm compressing the golf ball.